Well, good morning, Loralynn. Nice
Good
to have you
morning.
with us this morning.
Thank you for having me, John.
Of course, of course. And by way of introduction, for those that will watch the podcast, Loralynn Ingresso from Upward Title. Super excited to, we don't have many of these types of podcasts. It's usually our realtor partners have joined us, and I got thinking. I says, you know what, this would be fun to bring in the folks that make everything happen, not just on the back end, but how can we use title on the front end of things? And I think we'll talk about that a little bit later to add value to our clients and the transaction. So first of all, let's get to know you just a little bit better. And can you tell us a little bit, Loralynn, how you got started in title and what led up to all that?
Yeah, so long story short, for college, I graduated from Chapman University
Great
down
school.
in Orange.
Yeah.
Love it. Orange Circle's great.
Yep.
But I majored in art history and I minored in business administration. And so my plan with that was to be in fine art sales. I had worked for a fine art gallery in downtown Laguna for 3 years. And so I was selling fine art in like the Ritz-Carlton, Monarch Beach. And I started in 2019. Oh, no, sorry. I started in 2017. And then I worked at that gallery and started doing like gallery operations for a little bit and administration up until 2020. And so I actually left that gallery in July of 2020, and that's when I started title. So, obviously everyone kind of knows what happened in 2020.
That was a tough year.
Yeah, it was really tough, and I think I just wanted a little bit more. And so my resume landed in the lap of my boss through a family friend. And when I interviewed with him, I was like, I don't have any family in the real estate business. I don't know what title insurance is.
Brand new.
But I was so green, like greener than you can even imagine. And but he took a chance on me, and I'm so thankful for that. And so I started at the very bottom during like the refi boom, open order desk. Here's your L&V and tax roll, and here's your order number. That was it. That's all I knew. I didn't know why or what. I just was like very methodical. And so I remember going on Google and looking up like, what is title insurance? Like, what I was on probably like rocketmortgage.com, it's like the first one that pops up. And I was trying to figure out what title insurance was. And then my boss started telling me like what a title rep was. And so I kind of knew that like a title rep was kind of the pinnacle, or at least like outwardly, of what title insurance is. And so I would look at all these sales reps and like what they were doing, how much money they were making, like what their activities were. And so from that, I worked up into being like an executive assistant to my boss, then being kind of like a hybrid educator / title rep, and now I'm a full-blown title rep. So I worked my way up.
That's amazing. And like you mentioned, you didn't get started at an easy time. I mean, who knew or thought that here comes a full-blown worldwide pandemic?
Yeah.
And so, wow, so you've come through a lot of adversity there, but then you ramped up quickly with education and knowledge to serve others.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause for 1 second.
Okay.
And he can edit. I want to make sure, because I started to receive a call.
Oh, is it still recording?
Yes, good.
Okay, cool.
He can edit it, so I can start with another question. Because I'm like, wait a minute, but it's on Wi-Fi calling, so that's why it came through, but it did not stop that.
If you put it on Do Not Disturb, is that possible? Like for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I moved it to that.
Gotcha.
I have it on airplane mode, so it's supposed to...
Oh, because the Wi-Fi, so someone probably like
Wi-Fi
FaceTime audio you or something. Yeah, that's funny.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, no worries.
Oh, we better be catching this.
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting, how you got into title and all of that. And so just to kind of off topic a little bit, is title the only thing you do, or what do you like to do for when you're not titling?
When I'm not titling, when I don't have my title rep hat on, well, I feel like that's 24/7. But outside of title, I really enjoy being healthy, like taking care of myself. So I work out a lot. I rock climb. I like to cook, which hasn't happened in a while, to be honest, because dishes aren't fun. Cooking, baking. I love spending time with my family and just making sure that I have like a balanced life. That's really important to me because I think to perform at a high level, you have to take care of yourself. And I think that's like the best way to have longevity in anything.
I totally agree. You know, both of our work as it interacts so closely is highly stressful.
Yeah.
You know, we're under deadlines and you know, sometimes just some, you know, I don't like to use the word gun to our head, but you know, we're under some stress. And so to be able to be at our top performance as a real champion for those that need us, it's important to take care of ourselves and have that the best we can, that work-life balance. And I got to say, that's my wife really helps on my side with that. You know, we try to eat healthy. We try to work out together. She's a big hiker, so we like to go hiking. A lot of beautiful places around here to do that. And, you know, it's just clarity, too. It's when you see, you know, the rocks that you're climbing and the hills that we're, you know, walking up trails and things like that. It's just breath of fresh air. Now we come back down. We're like, all right, back to the grind.
Yeah.
Back to the grind.
It's always funny coming back from like a climbing or camping trip because when you're out in the mountains and all you can hear is the rushing water and the wind goes through the trees. You think about like what really matters to you, and I think that moment to recharge makes me a better person when I come back to like the normal everyday life. And so I truly believe that if you're not okay up here and like you're not okay with your body, like there's nothing else that matters. You can't do anything else. So as long as, you know, we're always a work in progress, but I think to kind of have that mindset of health as being number one, then you can excel in everything else.
Yeah, that's well said. And I'm glad you brought up mindset because you can't hardly not listen to a podcast or read something that doesn't use the word mindset.
Yeah.
It's a big buzzword out there. But, you know, even more importantly than just being words on a paper or an advertisement, you know, having that right mind. And one of my favorite people at United Wholesale Mortgage at UWM, Mateen Cleaves, he's a motivational leadership coach there, and one of his favorite expressions is, get your mind right and your grind tight. And, you know, at first I thought, that's cute, that's funny. But the more and more I start thinking about that, what does it mean to keep our mind right? And similar to our bodies, how we try to take care of our bodies, it means nourishment to me.
Yeah.
Mental nourishment. What kinds of things do you do to keep your mind nourished?
Yeah. Nourished, I would say making sure that I have the right people around me and taking advice from the right people. And
That's
so,
huge.
yeah, like two of those people would be my boss. So I've followed him from the first title company that I was at to the one that I'm at now. He's never led me astray, and I'm very thankful. Like, he's my first boss in the industry, and you hear all these crazy stories, and so I'm very thankful for that. So I always go to him. But then also my dad. He is not in the industry. He's actually retired LA County Sheriff's deputy, and he had to manage people. So he kind of has that like grit, and he keeps it real with me. So I liked going to him when, let's say, I messed up or like I showed up late to something, and I'm like, how do I rectify the situation? And he keeps it very real, and he's like, well, I'll tell you this, sweetie, you know, you need to do X, Y, and Z and make sure that it never happens again. I take everything that he says like very seriously, and so that's what keeps my mind nourished. So the right people, working out, just because that's like a form of therapy. I think movement is a great way to relieve stress. And I think those are the top two. Yeah.
Those are very, very top priority for us as well. And, you know, speaking of dads, my dad, we've actually brought him to the office here. He's been in sales all his life. The guy can sell anything. You don't even know you need it. Next thing you know, you own it. And but he says, John, let me come talk to your people here, because you have a lot of new loan officers as well. And I says, well, what are you going to talk about? He says, how about selling without selling? I go, okay. And he just, the way everybody loved him here, the way he presented and just had an open discussion and talk, and then he's that person that I go to as well. Anything business, anything personal. I think my wife actually talks to him more than I do each day.
That's nice.
They have a great relationship, and he's just, he's not the kind of person that says, you should do this, you should do that, and do that. He's the kind of person that you talk and say, here's the scenario, here's what I did. And he's like, and I'm waiting for him to say, well, this is what you should do. He's like, what do you think you should do? And I go, well, if I would have did, because I know my industry, he doesn't know it like I do.
Right.
But after we get talking, he's like, so do you have your solution? I go, yeah, I guess I do. Thanks for the help. He says, you had the solution.
Yeah.
I just helped you think about it a little more deeply, So he's definitely, and then our broker, Joe, here, Joe's been in the business over 25 years, almost 30 years now.
Wow.
And he looks like he's, like he's still in his 20s, but
good for him.
Yeah, I know but there's no scenario he hasn't been through. And he stays so calm during, when things get a little tense sometimes, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is just going to blow up. And he's like, no, just be patient. And make sure we're surrounded with a great team. We have a great title rep. We have escrow. We have excellent realtors. It's going to work out.
Yeah.
And so feeding ourselves with positivity, getting rid of negative, self-limiting thoughts.
Yeah.
And we wake up to a new day.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one thing that keeps me going, like when things get tough or if I feel intimidated. Like I've been in the industry for over 4 years now, and obviously, we all have come across people who are more senior than us.
Absolutely.
And there is that sort of intimidation factor. But one thing that keeps me going, or when I'm scared to like walk into a meeting because maybe there's some, top level, high producing heavy hitter, and you kind of have those self-limiting thoughts or doubts, but I always remind myself of like the hardest things or the things that I've accomplished before, to remind myself that I have what it takes to do the thing that I want to do next.
It's like, I got this. You got this.
It's proof. Like you have proof to yourself before that you've accomplished things, so there's no reason why you can't do it in the future.
Yeah, no, that's a really good way to look at it. So here's a question. If I'm a lender, I'm a realtor, why should I develop a close business relationship with my title rep? What's the advantages, and what's I've had people ask me that too, and that's when they're first coming into the business. One of the first things I ask them, do you have all of these team players in line? Do you have a good title rep? So what do you think would be a good answer to that? Why should I have a good relationship with my title rep?
That's a great question. I think that you should have a great and close relationship with your title rep to be aware of the resources that are available to you. Something that I've seen across the board, whether it's a lender or an agent, is that there's not enough delegation from them to their affiliates that they work with. So I remember I had a Zoom where I was going over all my farming tools with these newer agents, but they'd been in the business for at least a year. And I was showing them all these tools, all these different ways to prospect and lead generate. And they said, wow, I wish I would have known about this when I first started. And so I think it's really important to know like everyone's role on your team, whether it's escrow, lender, title rep, home warranty, like inspections, like what do they offer? Because you don't have to do all of that by yourself. And so like I'm here to alleviate the like property searches, property information, property profiles, all of that from my clients so that they can free up more time to then go lead generate with the lists that I give them. So I think having that close relationship is important, and knowing like what is available to you, because if you're not prospecting, what are you doing? How are you getting business? I don't know. Maybe you have a great SOI or sphere of influence, but they're not always going to want to buy or sell or refinance. So you have to go out there, especially right now in this market. Things aren't just coming to people.
Yeah.
You have to go and
Gotta go
hunt.
get it.
You have to hunt. Like,
Yeah.
so that's what I see with agents who are producing, whether they've been in the business for 20 years or maybe 2 months. If they're out there, they're actually getting conversations. And in order to get a deal, you need to be in conversation with people.
Yeah, that is so true. And I was thinking about lead generation. There's two different types of lions that I see. There's the lion that's at the zoo, behind the glass cage, and they get their food every day. They get fed, and they know it, so they sit right there, fat and happy. Then there's the lion that's out in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
They don't eat. Their family doesn't eat unless they hunt and kill.
Yeah.
And, we went through those times some years back where leads were just coming to us. People were coming to us. Yes, we want to refinance.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. They came to us. The leads were coming to us. Then things changed. And those that sat there and waited for those leads to still come in starved.
Mm-hmm.
And so did their families. And a lot of them left the business.
Yeah.
Agents, LOs, they left the business, or their companies shut down
Mm-hmm.
because they're not used to hunting and going out and generating their own leads and business. So what you said really reminded me of, and I'm grateful that our organization here has partners like yourself to help us with lead generation. And if we're not taking advantage of that, shame on us.
Yeah.
Because we have a great partner to help with that, and then it's reciprocal. We get leads and things like that, and we turn around and give the business right back,
Yeah.
which is the way it should be.
Yes, yeah. Play fair.
That's
But
right.
that's my whole purpose. If like my clients aren't thriving, I'm not thriving either. So it is this symbiotic relationship, and that's my purpose, is to help people generate more leads. That's what it is. And then also on the back end to close the deal, make sure title is good and everything like that, free and clear. But yeah, I think just really take advantage of the resources that you are given, because it's there, and we're all on the same team. That's the thing, is we're all on the same team, and it's really important to have a good team behind you.
Yeah, so true. Talking about lead generation, can you give us an example of maybe some of the things you do to help with lead generation?
Yeah, so I have a farming system called Title Toolbox. And so that has property information. You can apply all of these cool filters on there. There's premium data, life event data. But to keep it simple, so some people can take something away from this podcast, is to focus on two different groups. And the first one would be condo owners, so that have purchased in the last 2 years. So they're not really locked into that low rate that people
Right.
have who purchased maybe in 2020, 2021. And then also I apply a filter of 1,000 square feet, no more than that. That's the max. Why do we apply that? Well, it's because maybe these people, it's under the assumption that these people are starting out. This is a starter home. And maybe now the family's growing. A dog was adopted, and now they want a single family residence. They want to upsize.
Yeah.
So we're going to focus on that group of people. And then on the flip side, we're going to focus on the empty nesters. And those are property owners who have owned for 30 or more years. There's 3+ bedrooms. And then I add an extra filter of 2 or more stories. So then with
Makes sense.
that, empty nesters, that again is with the assumption that there was a family living there. The kids are gone, even though times have kind of changed right now. People might have gone back, but there's a life stage where they're going to need to downsize and live in a home where it is only one story.
Yeah.
They can't go up and downstairs
Right.
anymore. So they're also living in areas where maybe the condo owners want to go establish their family so that their kids can go to a certain school.
That's amazing. All of those scenarios really translate into a wonderful way if people are ready to roll up their sleeves and get out there and work
Yeah.
and have conversations, you've provided data of information so we can go out to these people and say, hey, we're here to help.
Yeah.
So that's amazing, and that's where really good partnership is developed there. So another question I have for you, we talked about a pandemic.
Yeah.
We've talked about, and it's still floating out there, and,
Yeah.
but we got hit hard in 20 and 21 and
Yeah.
all that. And a lot of people either left, like you mentioned, left the business, struggled, whatever. But those of us that stayed in it, we had to make adjustments. We had to make pivots in the way we do business so that we can stay afloat, and not just stay afloat, but thrive and be successful. What pivots or adjustments had you had to make, either personally or within the business, to stay successful?
Well, when I entered the business, nobody was going into the office. It was a ghost town.
Right.
And I remember my first time ever in an office was March of 2021, and everyone was kind of like, oh, like, can I pull down my mask to drink my water? Like, I don't know. And I had a lot of people, other colleagues who have been in the business even before COVID, and they're like, oh, you missed it. Like, it used to be booming in here. And I'm sure we've all experienced going into offices, especially for affiliates and other lenders,
Right.
going in trying to prospect. It's probably the usual four suspects, right? And you're like, okay, well, I see front desk TC and maybe the escrow officer, but there's no agents in here. There's nobody that I can form a relationship with who controls the business. And so I've pivoted by going out, and luckily I'm in a life stage where I have the time to do this, but like I go to networking events. I show up at Broker Preview every single Wednesday. So I highly suggest joining your local board or association, getting the sheet, going every single Wednesday. And even if you're an agent and it's not like, oh, these are leads for me, but forming relationships with people in the business too. When your offer goes out, who, like, obviously the numbers have to make sense, but sometimes those relationships do matter at the end of the day. Getting to even maybe find a mentor from going and showing up, that helps a lot too. And just becoming acclimated with your general like marketplace, that helps a lot. So networking events, showing up, setting appointments, and then also social media has been huge.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that social media is a cop-out for prospecting. Like, you still have to get that in-person appointment. You still have to have a conversation with someone. And, maybe you can, close a deal via just the internet. And I know that happened during COVID. But social media is the cheapest way to market yourself and stay top of mind. When you post a story and you get 150 views from maybe you have 1,000 followers and only 150 people watched it, well, that's 150 people whose brain you just entered now. It's just like a billboard. Now people aren't really looking up, they're looking at their screen.
Sure are.
And it's also called social media because it's social. It's not, you don't want to be too salesy on there. People want to know who you are. So in this business, people are going to choose you if you're known, liked, and trusted. So if you can master all of those using your Instagram, your Facebook, then I think you're on a good track.
Yeah, that's huge. But Loralynn, I don't have time to do social media. You ever heard that?
I
don't
have.
Time to do that. That sounds to me like they don't want to make time, because everything you just mentioned sounds like a huge benefit. A single post could reach 150 people or more. People that, it's hard to get in front of 150 people at one time.
Yeah. That's actually a good point, because I've taught classes in offices and maybe 5 people show up. I can teach a Zoom class, or I can post a reel that goes over maybe just the basics on like the most surface level that touches the points that I taught in that class, and it's broadcast. It's all of my 1,000+ followers, and maybe they scroll, but then maybe there are 3 people who actually want to come to me. So it also saves you time. That instead of teaching an hour-long class, you post that reel, and the people who want to learn come to you.
Yeah.
So I think if you want the time, you'll make the time. And if you want the business, you'll go and find a way to make the business. And yeah, I feel very strongly about social media because with the pandemic, it shifted how we communicate.
100%.
Like, who remembers Zoom parties? You know, that's kind of weird, to be honest. It's kind of odd that we would all, like, my company party, Christmas party or holiday party was on Zoom. Yeah. There was 20 of us on there, and they hired a virtual DJ, wow. Which is crazy. And I think we got sent some stuff to our homes so that we could, like, enjoy a lunch together, which was interesting. But, like, the reality of our world now is that we're shifting to a more digital age.
Absolutely.
And the people who are resistant to change are the ones who kind of die off in this business. Just like with right now, I mean, I don't want to get too far into the weeds of this, but like, there's a NAR settlement that just happened, and so what are you going to do? Fight it? No, you have to adjust. You have to educate yourself. So I think those who are the most versatile are going to thrive.
I couldn't have said that any better. That you just nailed it. And you know what's interesting to me, and maybe you've heard this term too, you know, during difficult times, challenging times, we just got to get back to the basics. And I'm thinking to myself, when I digest that phrase, I'm like, why did we ever leave the basics? And I think of an example of that when we were in that refi boom, right? When you came in, 21, 22, right in there, refi. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, it was just easy work. But what a lot of my colleagues did, and I got to say, I was guilty of it a little bit too, and I swear I'd never do it again, is we forgot about the purchase business. We forgot about all the relationships that we built with our realtor partners because we were too busy doing refinances. And I promised myself, and we instruct our team, purchase business is the lifeblood of anything we do here. Never leave the basics. Always make room for prospecting and mentoring and relationships with our realtor partners and with our affiliates as well. So important. And then refi business, that's great. That's the icing on the cake, the gravy, and we take care of that as well. So, you know, getting back to the basics is something we really shouldn't have to do, but it's a reminder that we need to just keep working hard.
It happens to the best of us, you know, like when there's a lot of activity going, it's easy to get sidetracked. And I would say, back to the basics, most definitely, because a lot of people have been, you know, hitting me up for farms, which thank God, because I'm like, you need to be farming. Like, it's like time is on your side, especially if you're new. You know, I talk to a lot of agents who are like, oh, this guy's been in this area for 20 years. I'm like, well, he had to start at some point. So if you're like on the younger side and like, think of it as a blessing to be starting this young because time is on your side. It's just like when you start investing your money, right? Like compound interest, time is on your side. It's better to get started now than later. So don't be intimidated. Like that top agent was quote unquote at the bottom when they first started.
100%.
So, I mean, I just like speak to that because I've had to, like, I'm still in the grand scheme of things at the beginning of my business. And if you don't have that mindset of believing that you can be successful, then you're not going to be. But it's not easy to be there, or it's like not easy to get there. I've definitely had my like existential crises like at the very beginning. I'm like, is this for me? I don't know. I don't know if I'm good enough, or I don't know if I have what it takes, but I'm past that.
And
thankfully.
Now look at you. Flourishing.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
fun.
good. Well, you brought up a good point there with regards to success. And, you know, I'm sure you're not alone. I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there that are wondering, even in this stage of their career, whether they short period of time or a little longer, should I stay in it? Should I stay as a realtor? Should I stay as a lender? I'm a small business owner, whatever. Man, it's just things are getting overwhelming. What advice would you have for people that have that maybe those self-limiting doubts a little bit, but what advice would you have for them to be successful? Loaded question.
And I could say a ton, but I'll try to keep it concise. You have to get your mind right, and every day is a decision to keep choosing the decision to stay in the business. You know, like if you're second guessing yourself, which is totally okay, but if that is an overwhelming thought, I would say if you don't get rid of that mindset, it's going to be really hard for you to want to do well, or like for you to want to push in this business. You know, everyone says like you have to love what you do, and I've always struggled with that, you know, like and so I think you have to find meaning in what you're working so hard for. And I'm young, you know, like I don't have a family yet, I don't have kids, I'm not married yet. And I've always struggled with like, because a lot of people say, oh, well, my why is my kids. And I've talked to other younger people in the industry, and they say it's okay if you're here for the money to grind, but like you have to think about beyond the money, what type of life do you want to live? So that's what's been pushing me forward, is what type of future lifestyle do I want? And for the future family that I want, like how can I put things in place to put me there? Yeah, it's all positioning. So I think like you have to be dedicated to the choice that you're making to stay in this business, because it's not easy. So how do I spin that to like make more sense?
No, I think you're nailing it with that. You know, you gotta wake up committed every single day. I'm going to do this, no matter how hard it is. Yeah, I'm going to do this. And I think you, from what I heard, aligning yourself with the right people to help you do that. You know, sometimes we feel crushed. Yeah, can't do it, but get the right people to help us.
Yeah. I think right now there's so many choices with social media. Like we're exposed to all these people living all these different lives, and they're like, well, it looks like they're doing well doing this. And especially for people who are in their 20s, like, because I'm still in my 20s, it's like they feel this influx of information, and there's so many choices. Like maybe I should go into like drop shipping, and maybe I should get into crypto, or maybe, you know, like, and those are good choices, and maybe I should become a nurse. I don't know. But it's almost like a relationship. You know, like a romantic relationship, choosing a partner. There comes a point where you have to, you know, like, I'm choosing to be with you. There's so many options out there. There's tons of fish in the sea. But at the end of the day, like, your career choice, like, the path that you make, like, you have to decide every day to wake up and do it with, like, your full heart. And, yeah, I don't know. Like, there's always going to be a better option, or there's always going to be a cool way that someone makes money. But, like, you have to accept your choices and just like ride with it. And then that's the best mindset to have, is to accept your choices.
That's real. I love that. And you know what's interesting about social media, and my wife does hair and makeup professionally, and she's not starstruck, and she does some of the top stars in the industry, Emmys, Grammys, and other stuff. And I'm starstruck. I'm like, wow, you get to do that person's band. Yeah, you know. But what I find that's interesting about social media is there's a ton of people on there. They all look rich. They all look happy. They all look like they're just at the top of their game, untouchable, like they have no problems in life. But the reality is, they're people. Yeah. They're humans. Social media, through filters, through everything else, can be made to look like everybody's life is perfect. Yeah. And we know better when we step back and maybe we're feeling down on ourselves a little bit. But we go to Instagram or whatever. But look at them. They look. But we got to step back and think, wait a minute. They're living an imperfect life as well. Yeah. They're trying to project a very positive, some have really good motives too, very positive, look, you can do this. Here, I have a very simple life, but I made some good decisions. I surrounded myself with some good people, and I got a break. I got some good, success. Other people are just, look how successful I am. Yeah. They haven't closed one deal. But they're posting all these things that other people have closed. Right? So, social media is great, but don't let it dictate who you are. Yeah. Use it for you to build up your business and things like that. But I think you made a really good point on there, is that just wake up every day with the desire, the commitment. I can do this. Yeah. Find a way.
Yeah. I think also, I would say get an accountability partner, or find something that lights a fire underneath you, whether it's a commitment of, hey, if I don't do this, I Venmo you 20, or maybe not 20, no, $200. It has to be painful, you know, or even like accountability publicly on your social media. That's another way to inspire others too. You know, people post about like 75 hard, or maybe for me personally, I did a challenge where I wasn't going to go shopping for the month of August, you know, like aside from business, like there's, you know, you have to take care of yourself financially too. And so I think being real with the people around you as much as you can on social media, and also when you're consuming social media, remember, if you see someone's success, I want you to think about what it takes to get there. And they're not showcasing the times where they have a migraine because they're so stressed. They're not talking about the times where they had to miss out on these things with their family or their friends. You know, it's a highlight reel. They're not going to talk about, they're not going to talk about how maybe they also messed up. You know, people aren't very vulnerable on there.
Yeah. And that's why, you know, social media is great, but as you mentioned before, having those face-to-face, those in-person contacts and connections, people still buy from people.
Yeah.
They research what they're going to buy on the internet, and they check things out. But when it comes to a home or something that is highly expensive, I'm not talking just a little knick-knack, something off Amazon, something that's going to impact their life, the largest commitment they'll probably ever make, they want to talk face-to-face with somebody that will assure them the research they found, or correct and update the research that they actually found. So no one's going to replace us and our job. Someone asked me the other day, Loralynn, will AI replace me, my job? And I was about ready to give my own opinion, but I heard a better one that says, no, AI's not going to replace you. The people using AI will replace you. And I thought, ooh, that's smart. Don't get left behind the times.
Yeah.
See what AI can do for your business. And if you can use it for your business, great. Because other people are using it.
Yeah.
And it's those people that may find success before you do.
Yes.
So.
It's also another, what I've found, like social media is now, and using AI and other technologies, it's a new form of literacy in a way. So I think even if it does seem intimidating, we're still at the infantile stages of technology. So, you know, partner up with someone who can teach you. Maybe it's like your own son or daughter, or your niece or nephew, or, you know, you can attend classes. There's a lot put on through like the board, through OCAR. Team up with a title rep who can teach you how to like post on Instagram. Like there's so many resources, and YouTube University. That's what I like to call YouTube. It's YouTube University. There's a lot of different ways for you to learn. You just have to be open to something that's going to be a little bit new, and it's okay to be uncomfortable, but you cannot miss the train. You have to like hop on board with it.
And it's moving. That train is screaming along. We have a realtor partner in Texas. She has closed over almost 30 transactions just off of TikTok.
Wow. That's
huge. Said, no. So I called her and I talked to her. We had a podcast together. She says, John, it's real. She says, I'm a house mom. I have a normal life.
Yeah.
It's just I've learned how to educate people on TikTok. And it's not just for crazy little dances and all this other stuff that people do. It's people are coming to me, and I'm selling them houses. I'm helping them relocate, whatever it is. And she says, it's real. And then every Friday, I'm consistent. I give a market update. Here's the market update for the San Antonio area.
Wow.
And it's working. People wait for her next message, and then they seek her out.
Yeah.
So if used properly, AI, social media, it can really do, wonders for someone's business. And then, what do you think about celebrating successes?
Ooh, I think it's important. Yeah, I don't think that you should ever downplay your successes, because you do have to remember what it took to get there. I think there should always be a tone of humility, and humility and gratitude towards those who have also helped you. So I think realizing like who helped you get where you are, especially our clients, the
Yeah.
people who gave you opportunities, people who gave you a chance, that's really big too. But I think celebrating successes is important because you need to congratulate yourself, at least a little bit.
Celebrate
Yeah.
even the small stuff. The small
Exactly.
victories lead to big victories.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to celebrate that personally with your family,
Mm-hmm.
those that are your biggest supporters, our teammates who helped us all along,
Yeah.
and our fantastic partners like yourself. So, well, I can't thank you enough, Loralynn, for joining us this morning on our podcast. And I truly hope those that are watching this will take a nugget or two, maybe three, that you can apply in your own life and in your business to be successful. And that's the whole point of why we do this, to get to know our partners better and how they can better serve you and us too. So thank you again, Loralynn, for being with us today. And we wish you more success in your business. And we look forward to sending you more referrals too.
Thank you so much for having me here. It was a pleasure to speak with you and to be able to speak on this podcast and share a little bit of where I come from. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye, guys.